Good morning, children. How are you all? I hope you are fine and doing great. Okay, children, in our previous class, we finished B reading from second unit, that is, its change. In today's class, we will start C reading. So, what's our C reading? It's Susrutha, the ancient plastic surgeon. What is our C reading, children? Susrutha, the ancient plastic surgeon. Okay, so here surgeon means what? Surgeon means doctor. Surgeon means doctor. So here Susrutha is the name of the person. Who is he? Susrutha is a surgeon. He is a doctor. So in our first reading, we read about C.V. Raman, right? Who is a very famous scientist. Later in the poem, we discussed about the advancement in science. So that little girl, she was complaining to her mother, right? About teachers, scientists, biologists, geologists, everybody, right? Astrology, I mean astronauts, everyone. So we are reading about different persons, great persons. So this lesson is about one of the most famous doctors, that is Susrutha. He belongs to our ancient times. At that time itself, without any advancement in the technology, he did plastic surgeries. So you might have heard about plastic surgeries, right, children? So what exactly it is? Sometimes if any person met with accident, so something may happens, right, like in the face, maybe nose or eyes or anything may be disfigured. Disfigured means like shape out because of that accident, right? In some case of actually we generally come across the news about acid attacks also, right? In that acid attacks also the total face will be, it's like disfigured, right? In that cases, so plastic surgeries will be like conducted. Okay, so the doctors, they operate them. So if for example in the accident, if anything happens to nose or eyes or anything, or else if any for fractures, in that case generally plastic surgery will be done. Okay, not only that, even if you take our actors, film actors, especially heroines, so often they used to go through these plastic surgeries to look more attractive, to look more beautiful. Okay, like nose, lips and cheeks and everything. Okay, that type of surgeries nowadays, so they also we have been seeing that. And one more thing, children, in some movies you might have observed that, okay, in movies what will happen, say, for example, if any person he or she met with accident, so they will be operated, like plastic surgery will be done. Later their face totally will be changed. Okay, why it will be changed? Because of the plastic surgery. So that skin, eyes and all the shapes will be changed. So the person, even he or she looks differently. So you might have seen this in movies. Okay, so at that time itself, how was he able to do this? We are going to see in this lesson. So without any instruments or things, how he used to do the surgeries and operations. Okay, not only that, children, even Sushrutha, he wrote one book about all these things. So nowadays the present doctors, even they are following his book. So what exactly it is, we'll see. So 7th class children, from your class, so many children want to become doctors, right? So I hope this lesson is it's like will be useful for you. Okay, so shall we start the lesson? Everybody open your textbooks, open page number 37. Sushrutha, an ancient plastic surgeon. It was midnight when Sushrutha was awakened by a frantic knocking at the door. So one day, so it was the description of one incident. What exactly happened? So one day, midnight, it was midnight. What happened at the time? Sushrutha was awakened by a frantic knocking at the door. Awakened. Awakened means what? He was woken up. So midnight means obviously we know that, right? Everybody will sleep. So even Susrutha was also sleeping on that night. But what happened suddenly at the time at midnight, somebody awakened him. Somebody woke him up by knocking his door, that too frantically. Frantic knocking means what? Frantic means extremely worried. Frantic means extremely worried. So Susrutha observed, he heard some noise at the door. Somebody was frantically knocking the door. Okay, let's see who was that. Who is out there? Asked the aged doctor, taking a lighted torch from its socket in the wall and approaching the door. So at that time, even Susrutha, he was very warned. So what happened anyway? He woke up and he asked, he inquired. So who is at the door? Who came? Who is out there? He asked that. Who is out there? So we also write like that only. So directly we can't open the door. First we should ask who came exactly. We should know that. So you also children, if you are alone at home, please don't open the door directly. First inquire, observe who came to your house. If you think that's safe to open the door, then only open your door. Otherwise, don't open the door. So just he inquired about that. Who is out there? Next, not only that, even he took one torch from its socket in the wall and approaching the door. So at the time, even there was no power at all, so no current. So they used to have only lights, lamps, torch. So what he did, he took that torch from the socket. Socket means, you know that, right? It's like a small rack. So there was one socket on the wall. In that, torch was there. So Susrutha took the torch and he approached the door. Approaching means reaching. Understood, children? So Susrutha is a doctor. He became old. One day at midnight, he listened some frantic noise at the door. So he took his torch from the socket on the wall and he went near the door to open. Not only that, even he inquired who's out there. Okay? Next. I'm a traveler. My river Susrutha, was the anguished reply. A tragedy has befallen me. I need your help. So, what was the reply from the person? He said that, I'm a traveler, my revered Susrutha. Revered means respected. Revered means respected. So what was the answer from the person who is outside of the door? He said that I'm a traveler. Who is called as a traveler? Traveler means a person who travels from one place to another place. So he was a traveler and he addressed Susrutha like my revered Susrutha. Okay, and that was the anguished reply. Anguish means worried. So that person looked somewhat worried. See, for example, children, if you are in worry, like sad feeling, that will be reflects in your voice, right? So by observing the voice itself, Susrutha came to know that that person was in some trouble. Okay. So a tragedy has befallen me. I need your help. So tragedy means, you know that, right? Bad situation, bad thing. So I come across one bad thing, my dear respected Susrutha. So I need your help. That was the answer from the person. So the person said, I'm a traveler, my dear Susrutha, respected Susrutha, and actually I'm going through one tragedy. So I need your help. Okay, next one. Susrutha opened the door. So by listening that, Susrutha opened the door. What he saw was a man kneeling before him, tears flowing from his eyes and blood from his disfigured nose. So when he opened the door, Susrutha opened the door. So what was the scene? What was he able to see? He able to see one man who was kneeling down on the ground. So kneeling down means, you know that, right? So that person sat on the ground on his knees. So he knelt on the ground and of course How was he? Tears flowing from his eyes and blood from his disfigured nose. Disfigured means which is not in correct position. So something happened to him. Maybe he met with accident. Because of that accident, his nose, it was disfigured and blood, so it's bleeding. Okay, so it was the situation with the pain. Even the man was crying. Okay, understood? Next, get up, my son, and come in, said Susrutha. So by looking at that person, really Susrutha felt very sad. So what he said, get up, my son, just come in. Everything will be all right, but be quiet now. So he said that. So he's a doctor, right? So he know how to treat the patients. So what he said, no problem, don't worry, nothing to be worry at all. Everything will be all right. So just be quiet, like that he said. Okay. Next one. He led the stranger to a neat and clean room with the surgical instruments on its walls. He, he washed his face with water and the juice of a medicinal plant. He then offered him a mug of wine and began preparing for the operation. So obviously, so his nose, the person who came to Susrutha's house, his nose was disfigured, so it's bleeding. He has to set it right. That's why what he did, Susrutha, he took that man into his house, into his room. So how was that room? That room was very clean, and of course in that room you can observe some surgical instruments on the walls. In that room you can observe surgical instruments on the walls. Surgical instruments means you know that, right? The instruments which are used to like perform surgery or operation. Okay, and then what he did, Susrutha washed the person's face with water and of course with some juice of some medicinal plant. So you know that, right? Medicinal plants, so generally at our home we can observe the plants like aloe vera, tulsi. All these are medicinal plants, right? Even neem also. So he took some of medicinal plants. So at that time obviously there were no tablets at all. So what he did, he just washed his face with water. Later he washed his face with some juice of some medicinal plant. He then offered him a mug of wine and began preparing for the operation. So you know that, right, children? Wine means, you know that, right? It's like juice extracted from the dry grapes. So wine, he gave mug of wine to him, to the patient. Why? Why? We'll see the next paragraph. Okay, and of course he started like preparing for the operation. Turn the page. With a large leaf of a creeper brought from the garden, he measured the size of the stranger's nose. Taking a knife and forceps from the well, he held them over a flame and cut a strip of flesh from the stranger's cheek. The man moaned, but the wine had numbed his senses. So, Susrutha was preparing for the surgery. So, what he did, he went to his garden and he like got one large leaf of a creeper. Creepers means, you know that, right? In your lower classes you might have read creepers and climbers. Creepers means generally the plants which spreads all over the ground. Okay, so we can see so many plants like watermelon and all those, right? So he took one large leaf of one creeper, and what he did then, he measured the size of the stranger's nose. Stranger means who is called as stranger, children? So if any person we don't know, we are meeting them for the first time, obviously we call them as strangers. So what he did, he measured the size of the stranger's nose. Taking a knife and forceps. Forceps is also, it's like a surgical instrument which is used to perform operation. So he took one knife and forceps. Later what he did, he just held them over a flame. So he took knife and forceps. He like held them over a flame and cut a strip of flesh from the stranger's cheek. Okay, so strip means it's like small piece, right? So strip of flesh means you know that, right? So all this is flesh. Okay, inside of our body we are having all flesh. So with the help of that knife and forceps, so what he did, Susrutha, he cut one small strip of flesh from his cheek. Okay, then obviously, so as he was cutting that, the stranger, he felt somewhat of some kind of pain. Because of that pain, the stranger, the patient, he moaned. M-O-A-N-E-D. Moaned means groaning. Like so if you hurt, then what will happen if you're not feeling well? So generally we'll make short noises, right? That's called as mourning. Okay, so he mourned, but anyway his senses were numbed. Numb means becoming senseless. Okay, why his senses became numb? Because Susrutha, before doing that, already he offered him a mug of wine. Because of that wine, the patient's, his senses were like numb. So he was not able to feel that much of pain. He was able to feel that, but there is nothing it's not no more pain. It's not giving much pain. Okay, because of the wine, all of his senses became numb. So yeah, like he was just feeling that, but it was not that much paining anyway. The patient mourned. Understood, children? So in previous days, wine was given to the patients to numb the senses while doing any surgery. So at present we are having anesthesia, right? So you might have heard about that. So before any kind of before performing or doing any kind of surgeries, doctors will give anesthesia to the patients. Okay, otherwise we can't bear that pain. So they use it to cut it and everything, right? So we can't bear that pain without anesthesia. So if they give anesthesia, what will happen? That particular area that becomes numb. So if they cut that body part also, we don't feel that much pain. But later, once the effect of the anesthesia becomes low, we starts feeling that much pain. Okay, but anyway, before performing operation, generally doctors will give anesthesia. So in previous days, as there was no chance to give anesthesia, so they used to give wine. So that giving wine, that was done by Susrutha for the first time. Understood, children? So that is like his specialty. That was his specialty. Okay, let's see what happened later. After bandaging the cut in the cheek, Susrutha cautiously inserted 2 pipes into stranger's nostrils and transplanted the flesh into the disfigured nose. Molding the flesh into shape, he dusted the nose with powdered licorice, red sandalwood, and an extract of Indian berberry. He then enveloped the nose in the cotton, sprinkled some refined oil of sesame on it, and finally put a bandage. See, children, look at the picture. There is one picture. You can observe that picture. So Susrutha, he is Susrutha, and he was operating him. Okay. So what he did, he took one flesh from his cheek, right? Later what happened? After bandaging the cut in the cheek, so he cut the flesh from here. So he has to bandage this one. Actually, Susrutha has to do the surgery of nose. It was disfigured. Okay, so he needed the flesh. So that flesh was taken from his cheek, patient's cheek. Understood, children? So to do the plastic surgery of the nose, Susrutha took the flesh from the patient's cheek. So again, as he cut the cheek, of course, it must be bandaged, right? Otherwise, again, it starts bleeding. So what he did first, he bandaged the cheek, and then Susrutha cautiously means very carefully, he inserted 2 pipes into the stranger's nostrils and transplanted the flesh into the disfigured nose. So nostrils means you know that, right? So these two holes. So what he did then, Susrutha took two pipes. With the help of the two pipes, he inserted very carefully the flesh which he had taken from his cheek into his disfigured nose. Understood, children? He took flesh from here and then with the help of two pipes, he inserted two pipes into the nostrils of the patient and he carefully inserted that cheek, that flesh into the disfigured nose. Then what happened? Molding the flesh into the shape. So here it's completely disfigured, right? So he has to mold that. Molding means again making into the correct shape. So now he has to do it in the correct shape of the nose. So he molded that and then dusted the nose with powdered licorice and red sandalwood and an extract of Indian barberry. So Indian barberry is, you know that, right, which will be in black color. Okay, so he took the juice and sandalwood powder and all powder licorice. So all with the help of that all three powders, he just dusted the nose. Okay, he then enveloped the nose in cotton. Enveloping means covering. He just covered the nose with cotton, sprinkled some refined oil of sesame. Sesame seeds, we know that, right? In our cooking we use that, right? Sesame seeds. Okay, so he took the oil of that sesame seeds and finally put the bandage. So that's how he operated him. Okay, so later what happened with that patient will continue in the next class, children. Today take homework from your workbook. Okay, everybody open page number. See here, children, actually that's page number 71, vocabulary part, and page number 72, grammar part, fill in the blanks plus conventions of writing. Page number 71 and 72 are going to be your homework for today. Okay, so we'll continue the lesson in the next class. Thank you.